You know, it's Cash Color Campus, a high level of conversation on LivehiphopDaily.tv. I'm your host, Mecca King, and this episode is sponsored by CANNABIZ Clothing. The shop is back open. In the words of Flyboy Giz, we back outside. So head to AtlantisClothing.com and grab something from our Drug Lord or Atlantis collections. Make sure you snap a picture when you get yours. Matter of fact, shout out to one of my recent customers. My man DMs me today and goes, yo, I didn't know Herschel Walker and Brian Kemp were having a rally up at Battery Park. I guess apparently he lived there. He just ordered a Drug Lord shirt and it came today. He said, I'm about to wear this up here and see what I get, see what kind of reactions I get. I said, he's white too. Yo, shout out, just add that part. Yeah, he's a white dude. So I told him, I said, bro, please take pictures so I can get the reactions, and thank you for your purchase. So without further ado, though, like I say, it's my boy Mecca's Cash Color Campus podcast. And today I don't have a guest. And that's for a reason. You know, my guest next week is gonna be a pretty good show. Y'all seen her in here before, and I ain't gonna announce it just yet. Just know that if y'all tune in tomorrow, y'all pull in here next week and you see 24 roses. It's for a specific reason. But my girl gonna be here next week, and we gonna do an amazing show. But today I thought I'd just pop in and just let people know what we up to as far as Cash Color Cannabis and what's been going on the last couple of weeks, because you know I have been in and out of studio. So I have been in and out of studio because there's been a lot of stuff going on, just also in life as far as with Cash Color Cannabis. One of the things was last week I had a chance to be one of the speakers for Black CANNABIZ EXPO and Conference, which is in New Orleans. So this is their third edition of the conference. This is their second time going live. The first one was viral. And shout out to my good friend Christy Price, who puts on the event. She asked me to come down and moderate an amazing conversation with Chris Ball. For those who don't know Chris Ball is the founder and owner of Ball Family Farms. He's a former professional football player who at one point in his life, and I wish I'd get him down here. I probably will get him down here in Atlanta to actually tell this story. But at one point in his life, he found himself trapped in Arizona with over 100 pounds of weed in his trunk. And he had a life epiphany about where he was about to go as far as with his life, his business, and what was going to be next for him. So yada, yada, yada. He is the founder of Ball Family Farms. We had a chance to go have a great conversation with him about not only how he got into cultivation, but his whole journey from football to bud and a whole lot more. We got into how we can get more black men involved in the cannabis space, not just as far as not just from a dispensary level, but everything from cultivation all the way up into ownership. It was just a really, really amazing conversation, and I appreciated him for allowing me to moderate that, and I appreciate Christy for allowing me to moderate that. But that wasn't the only amazing thing or amazing people that was out and about in New Orleans at that time. Another brother I had a chance to speak with was Troy Datcher, and Troy Datcher is one of the few black faces who actually is in a position of president in a cannabis business. He runs the parent company, and many of y'all might not know the parent company unless you're heavy into stocks. So some of y'all might have dabble in cannabis stocks and picked up a couple of parent company stocks here and there, but through the parent company, brands such as Monogram are distributed, and they work with brands such as Monogram, They also work with Ball Family Farms, Josephine and Billy's, which is a black-owned dispensary, a black woman-owned dispensary out in Los Angeles. And they foster brands such like that, and it was a really amazing conversation with the man, because he came from a whole different industry. He used to work at Clorox, so he was high up at Clorox, but before he got the offer to come work over here in the parent company. And one of the reasons he took the position with the parent company overall was he understood the lack of color involved in cannabis at that time, especially in the positions that he was in. And he said when he had the chance to get that opportunity, he said I couldn't not take it. Just like he said, I couldn't not be here for this podcast. I couldn't not be here for this event. There's no way I was going to not be here for something that specifically is about the black community and the black and uplifting the black voice and the black presence in cannabis. So I appreciate him for chopping up. And there was a whole lot more, man. Like, y'all going to start, if y'all subscribe to the podcast, which I hope you do if you're watching us tonight, make sure you subscribe, because over the next couple of days, I will be dropping new episodes featuring Troy Datcher, Nikki John out of Boston. And who else? Oh, and a slew of other people. I don't want to forget names. I don't want to mess up titles. But we have a great line of new interviews coming down the pipeline. So please tap in. Please stay tuned. And also while I was in New Orleans, I had a chance to pick up some new music. And if you heard me a little while ago, I shouted out Flag Boy Giz. I want y'all to go YouTube that man. He got a hit down in New Orleans. That he's bringing bounce music back. And if you ain't a bounce person, I mean, you might not be, but you probably have. Being that if you was a Cash Money or No Limit fan early on like that, you was into bounce music whether you knew it or not. Giz is bringing that back, and that vibe was amazing, man. Shout out to that man. I saw him perform that live while I was in New Orleans, and at first when I saw him perform, I was like, I didn't know what to expect because you got to see the video to understand what I'm saying. I didn't know what to expect because he came out fully dressed and he had the feathers on and the whole painted up. Bro, when he dropped that record, I was like, I see what he's talking about. Like every place should be playing this. And the crazy part is when I got back to the conference the next day, I walk into the hall and they was playing that record. The DJ was just happening to be playing that. Yeah, she was like, yo, yeah, he's going down here. I was like, yo, he's out of here. That boy's nice. I know he performed at Louisiana Fest, so I'm pretty sure Wayne know what's up with him. But that boy, nice. He got a hit down there. So next week, I told you I do got a special guest in the building. I'm gonna be bringing her on next Tuesday. But the few hours right after that, I'll be heading to Las Vegas for the annual MJ Biz conference. So for those who don't know, MJ Biz is the biggest conference in cannabis. The conference itself, when you go down to the conference hall, they say it's about 11 football fields long. Like, it's just massive amount of space, all dedicated to the cannabis industry. So you walk down there, you see everything from cultivation to just everything. Like, you're going to see a little bit of everything and everybody down there. So I'm going to be down there next week, and I get a chance to do I get a chance to be part of a meet. I'm gonna host a meet and greet. That's the you talk about something I ain't never been asked to do. Be part of a meet and greet. But thank you to Chanel Lindsay and Arden, and they'll be rolling out a new product called Billo, and you're going to learn a lot more about Billo on the show and through my social media over the next couple of weeks. But I get a chance to host a meet and greet down there with them on the conference floor, along with a couple of my favorite cannabis influencers. So that's going to be lit. Plus, I'm going to be doing the podcast live from Podcast Row, and I already got a nice lineup of guests who's going to be popping up for that. So stay tuned for all that. Stay tuned for all that. It's going to be fun, man. Whenever you go to Vegas, Vegas is definitely all about the parties. And one of the parties I'm going to be at, you can definitely catch me on the red carpet there, too, is the Hush Party, put on by Hush Las Vegas. It's going to be a super private, super sexy event. I can't wait to show up. I'm still getting my outfit together so I can make sure I match the vibe of everybody else. I ain't going to let y'all down. I'm still going to wear a Drug Lord shirt. I already told them. But I ain't going to let y'all down. I ain't going to be looking like a clown out there, man. Pimp C will be proud. Pimp will be proud of me, man. But I'm looking forward to it, man. Vegas is like, boo. When I'm talking about when you go down to Vegas for MJ Biz, it's really high-level networking. It's one of them situations where it's like South by Southwest. Like, y'all know how I start off in music, and anybody who's also been in music can get what I'm saying. When you go to South by Southwest, probably your first time you're going to get overwhelmed. Probably your second time you're going to feel like I'm kind of getting the gist of it. By the third time you realize if I don't set an agenda, this whole week will eat me. You know what I mean? And that's MJ Biz in a nutshell. MJ Biz could eat you up in a couple of days if you don't set an agenda. Set what you are going to do for these couple of days while you down here, because so much will be happening, so much will be going on in front of you. It's almost like sensory overload, and you really could burn out. So this year, it's not my third year. I've been here long enough, but I've had a couple of years where I burnt out, and I said to myself, next year, not again. This year's gonna be one of them not again years. You know what I mean? I already checked off all the parties I'm gonna be going to. I know all my podcast guests for that week. I know all the responsibilities I have for that day. I even know I have a day off on Friday, bro. And I plan on hitting dispensaries. I plan on kicking it with the homies. I planned this trip right. So next week in Las Vegas, if you see me, I'm most certainly working. Unless it's Friday, then if it's Friday, come holler at the kid, because I'm gonna be bopping around the media room, just kind of doing my thing. Hey, Sandy. I was just talking about black CANNABIZ, and this is somebody. Hey, Sandy, you want to? Yeah, come on down. Come on down. I'll introduce you real quick. This is somebody I met while I was in New Orleans. Yeah, she can talk. I don't mind. This is somebody I met while I was in New Orleans, and the crazy part is she's here in Atlanta. One of the many people I met in Atlanta who I didn't know even existed. But I met them last week in New Orleans, and it's not just she exists. She has an amazing brand. Like, at one point, I'm listening to some of the politicians out there who, John, I forgot his name, man. John Bailey. When John Bailey was talking about you, I was like, all right, so this is a thing. How I missed this, and I live down here.
New concept.
Please introduce yourself. I know. Thank you for coming through to the show and actually catching us live today.
Yeah, this is a great invite, great link. It's my first time coming, and I did follow you actually on Instagram before we actually met.
Yeah, I didn't notice, man. You know, sometimes I miss. Don't let me apologize.
Popular guy.
Because I was the minute I was about to follow you, I realized it was the follow back button staring back at me, and I was like, I'm about to hit this button. I feel like I've been missing this for a little while though. I'm good. Yeah, I feel like I've been missing this for a little while though. But thank you again for coming, for stopping even by the show, just come kick it. But I felt it'd be necessary, man. I'm doing tonight's episode. I'm doing solo, just kind of filling people in what's going on. And it's so crazy you walked in because I was just talking about New Orleans.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I met you in New Orleans.
You did, and it was my first cannabis conference, actually, and I was surprised because I did share my idea with Mr. Bailey, not knowing he was like, one of the top, guys that were going to be there, or speakers or announcers, and the platform was just amazing. And when I saw you, I was like, oh, I know him, right? But I don't know him. And I was like, I just had to meet you guys. Like, once they described how we were going to break out from the sides, once the speaker finished with their presentation portion, then they would come down on the side. I was like, well, I don't know all these other cats, but I want to say hello to him.
She did, too. That was crazy, man. It's always crazy to realize people who know what we do outside of Atlanta. But, yeah, you're in Atlanta. But
right.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So please tell people what you do, because you have such a unique idea when it comes to CBD and comes to what your business.
And hemp, CBD and hemp. Mm-hmm. So I am prior law enforcement. I just retired here in July. I'm also military, and I'm also black, so that kind of gives me, a lot of titles. But I used to work overseas as a contractor, and we work with shipping containers. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times that as soldiers, we would put equipment, old and outdated equipment or ammunition and supplies, and we just ship them back to the United States. And it's like once they were downloaded, there was nowhere for the container to go, so they just sat in the yards. And a lot of times we see trains roll by, and it's like the cargo containers that are on there, they're empty because they were taking them somewhere to just sit. So I was thinking about cost and not really knowing what I wanted to do, if it was going to be a brick and mortar. But I just had this wild idea, and I was like, well, I could take one of these shipping containers, put it on the trailer, give me a truck, and I'm going to drive around Georgia, and I'm going to educate people on CBD and hemp. And I'm also going to serve coffee, tea, waffles, all hemp-based. And I shared the idea with John, and he just, threw it out there, and I was like, oh, my God, this is really my first hour in here, and all these people flocked to me, and it was just a wonderful feeling because it kind of validated, that ambition and that drive that I had for this vision. Yeah. And a lot of my friends were like, "Oh my God, girl, I can't believe you, you're doing it, But I also want to advocate for Black and brown folk that, unfortunately have been, under my thumb at the time, but I share a story. I'm always keep it real, right? And I want to commend you guys for having all this, cannabis jargon. I'm not there yet. I'll confess about that. But I want to commend you guys for, dumbing it down and making it basic that everyone can understand the concept, because I also had my mom there with me at the conference. She's a medical marijuana recipient out of Florida. And we talked about how low-income elderly people still have to pay full price for their licenses. Yes. And, going into the dispensaries, and they're paying full price, for 3.5 grams. And I'm like, no, you should be paying the same amount that you pay for your prescription for high blood pressure, right?
You should also be able to get it on your insurance.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that was something that she was excited about, and she was like, I understand everything that they were saying. And I just really connected with that. But I don't know where I was going with that, y'all, because I probably needed to be lit or something. I don't know.
No, it's okay. We talking about black shit, and you almost talked about being a cop.
Yes. So I had a story that I shared with Mike. that as a street cop with Atlanta Police Department, I'll go ahead and say it. 'Cause
Was
I'm
you
no
one of the
longer
Red
with them.
Dogs?
I was not. I was not. I'm a little too young to be a Red Dog.
Okay, okay. Funny story. I used to be when I worked as a security guard down here, and when I was working, we had to get trained in arms. We had to get trained in shooting guns, and the person who trained me was one of the creators of the Red Dog.
Do you remember his?
I don't. He's heavy set. Well, he's heavy set, but I guess at one point he was bigger, like
At
stronger.
one point, we all expand, and then we all
Yeah,
muscle it
like
up.
you could tell he was muscular at one point, but he was kind of fat at this point. But he was telling the story about, we used to kick in doors, we would surprise them, they wouldn't know we was coming. He was bragging. He was in full brag mode. Yeah, we used to do this for real. Like we used to get them all. They wouldn't even know we was coming.
Well, I'm not bragging that I used to kick people door in, but I will brag that I used to help out the brothers, right? So I just remember this one instance. I did a traffic stop. I think it was a simple, registration violation. And typically when that happens, we'll call your baby mama so she can come and get your vehicle. I ain't gonna tow your vehicle. I'm just, give you the citation, but can somebody else drive it away? And his license was suspended, so I said I can't let you drive, right? So of course I smelled, the pinene in the air, and which is, one of the terpenes that I learned about. You know what I mean?
Look at her using jargon.
Yeah, a little jargon. I'm gonna start small, right? And he also stated, I said, classic question: do you have any weapons or drugs in the vehicle? And he said, I got some heat on the seat. I said, okay. So after I ran his information, came back, he was a convicted felon, right? And he had one in the chamber, right? Well, I said, well, bro, I see that blunt right there, so, go ahead and hand that to me. At this time, we didn't have, video cameras. There was no recording. So I did my civic duty. And, it somehow fell underneath the car. I lost it, right? So he goes, hey, sis, you think you can get rid of this heat for me? Hell no.
I took one thing for you, bro. Come on, son.
But the whole gun and one in the chamber, like, bro, I can't do that.
Where am I gonna put it?
I can't. Right?
This is gonna roll under the car.
So it just threw the whole play out of the window. But I really, had satisfaction for, helping people with small things that I could do, but I can't get rid of a whole weapon. So shout out to all law enforcement that do the right thing when it comes to, protecting folks from small infractions, because that's what I call them.
Let me tell you something. He talks about that story to this day. I promise you. Like, to this day, he reminds somebody of that. When he got locked up, he reminded somebody, man, she was cool as shit, though, man. She was going to help me get rid of this gun, though, dog. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for pulling up, though. What's the name of the company again?
So my company's name is, I never introduced myself, but it's Sandy Moore.
Yeah.
And my company is Hemp Box, etc. So the etc. kind of covers everything outside of hemp.
Yeah.
So eventually we'll have our own CBD line of, gummies and tinctures and massage oils and things like that. So
that's what's up.
thank you so much for having me.
No problem.
I'm excited to be amongst.
So your experience
fans.
at Black CANNABIZ was positive?
Yes. And a little bit of peer pressure over this weekend, but I was still excited, right?
A little bit of peer pressure from this guy right here.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Peer pressure.
Hopefully you didn't fall into the peer pressure that we're talking about over, repeatedly at least.
No, it's, just about 2 times.
What was your favorite part?
I really enjoy everything. I enjoyed the intimacy that was given to every person. Like, you stood in line and you were able to ask questions and it wasn't rushed.
Yeah.
And it was just like in the breakouts, like I was like, what? This reminded me of, conference at like schools, and they have teachers specific subjects on that day that the teachers would go to for counseling, because I did work in Atlanta public school system as a school resource officer. So talking with Mike, I had a vision also about educating our youth about cannabis too. So just those breakouts was very important, and I enjoyed listening to and selecting certain classes that I could go to, and it wasn't like you got to go to this one,
Yeah.
you know, because that was the only one that was available.
Yeah.
So shout out to Christy for, making it, a vast or a variety of strains, you should say, strains of talent. That's what I say.
Do you have any plans of going to Las Vegas next week?
I actually do. I got coached into that too. So I'm excited. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to expect. But if it was anything on the level of last week, I'm down. Count me in.
It's going to be a lot bigger, and it's going to be a lot. I was just saying, make sure you put together a plan of action for these couple of days, because you will get overwhelmed. There's going to be a lot going on. Like, it's going to be a lot of people, a lot of celebrities. There's going to be a lot happening all at once.
I'm overwhelmed right now.
Okay. So make sure you write down everything you want to do day by day, so you don't drive yourself crazy and feel like you just mentioned, I have to do this, I have to do that. There's going to be so many things that you feel like you're going to have to do that you might end up just sitting almost like paralyzed in the room. Like, I have to do all these things. I don't want to do nothing.
Right.
Don't do that.
Okay.
Enjoy Vegas.
I will.
Make sure you don't enjoy it too bad, because I don't want you to bump into a cop yourself and have to explain that one.
No, I won't. I'll come look for you guys.
Well, you're going to have a great time. And I had a great time in New Orleans as well, like I was just mentioning. And, once again, shout out to Christy for putting together and even having the concept to bring to life. Because we don't get a lot of places, as black people in general to just have these conversations where, like I mentioned on stage even with Chris, where when it comes to other conferences, you're dealing with people of color, normally we get pigeonholed into the social equity conversation. Let's find 5 people to talk about social equity. When you come to a black conference, you realize that there's other issues aside from social equity going on. Like, we want to talk about health. We want to talk. There's plenty of cannabis nurses in there. Let's talk about legislation to how the LLC and how to it was a lot going on other than just nonstop conversation about social equity simply to just check a box. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, I love that, because like I said, I'm just beginner, right? If there's anything under beginner, then that was me, right?
Yeah.
Like, you want me to roll a blunt, I probably it would be rolled backwards. But you would still smoke it though.
Have you rolled a blunt? Well, hell yeah, you have. Like, I'm talking. I'm about to say, have you rolled a blunt yet? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of novice at it now.
Yeah,
I'm novice. Yeah.
Do you still keep in contact with your fellow police officers?
I sure do. They were all on my timeline this morning because I posted a thread from the conference. Not too many pictures, but just a few that I felt like were highlighted moments. I don't remember the young lady's name with the rose tips, the pink tips.
Oh, Nikita. Nikita was here not too long ago. Nikita Seal.
And she's a sweet spirit, right? And her and my mom connected, and she was like, I love these pink papers. So my mom is old head, so she was like, where the reefer at? I'm like, what?
Your mama said, where the reefer at?
She had a blast, right? So shout out to her for being also a veteran, and that was another connection.
Yeah.
Being a lot of veterans were there that had all these great titles, and shout out to educated black folk. Like, I love that. Like, I've just been working in certain sectors, and you forget that we are knowledgeable and we are power and we're awesome. Like, we're not just black.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. It was great talent in the room, man.
I love the vibe too. And again, I appreciate Chrissy for putting together Black Cannabis Expo and Conference. Expect a recap to be coming to Cash Color Cannabis the end of this week. So make sure you follow us on Instagram. Make sure you head to the website too, CashColorCannabis.com. Plenty of new stories, plenty of profiles and things like that on the website. So make sure you support that. And as I mentioned, we'll be back in the studio next week. We will have a special guest right before we go to MJ Biz in Vegas. So I'm going to send y'all off right, before I pull back up here in the following week. But even then, we're going to take a couple of days before we have our last episode of the year, which is we normally call our Cash Color Christmas party.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm planning a special guest to bring in for that as well. So stay tuned. I'm going to give y'all an announcement about that. But it's going to be super dope, as y'all know, as we do every year since we've been starting. Cash Color Christmas is a super dope time around here. We have vendors, we have DJs, we have a very amazing guest. Sometimes we might have a special chef come through and cook up for us.
Cool.
Yeah, shout out to Scott Lee Ennis, who kind of helped set that off that time, man, 'cause he packed the room that day, boy. But anywho, thank you again,
I'm
Sandy.
excited.
Thank you, Sandy, for even coming through today, man, and
Thank you
being
for
open to
having
pop
me.
up this
Yes.
quick like this. Yeah, I
Right.
just wanted to say hi.
Yeah, that's what I just thought. I was coming in to say hi, but I'm on the couch, the magical couch that I see from, social media.
You heard.
So thank you for
You heard
having
her.
me.
The magical couch,
magical
man.
couch.
The magical couch
Yes.
down here at Live Hip Hop Daily
Yes.
TV, and that's your boy. That's my show. It's your boy Mecca, host of the Cash Color Cannabis podcast, and this is LivehiphopDaily.tv. We out.
That's awesome.